Hey, there's been some more changes through free agency, and we're getting more information the closer we get to the NFL draft. So now it's time for, once again, for us to mock it like it's hot. Mock it like it's hot. What is going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome back. Next episode, Fantasy Headliners, and here we go. It's Monday. Time for another NFL mock draft. This time, the 6.0 version. Kyle, how we doing?
6.0.
You're just continuing the trend, aren't you? Eventually,
Yes.
we're going to keep doing these until you run out of fingers, and then I'm going to be curious as to see how you handle that.
Absolutely. So, yeah, if we get to 10, I don't think we have much more time for that. So, getting closer to draft night, though. So, there isn't going to be many more mock drafts. I think we're starting to close in on kind of our final analysis, but a couple of new things with this one. So, we'll have to wait and see what people think.
Yeah, the news just came out. Rob Gronkowski has retired. He's no longer in New England. We've had Jared Cook go on to New Orleans, possibly. It's not official yet. There's lots of things going on right now, and it kind of really throws the draft board for a loop. It's kind of hard to pinpoint things with all these moves continually happening, but we're going to start right off here at the beginning again. Not going to waste a whole lot of time. The number one pick, we still have the same. We still have Kyler Murray, quarterback for Oklahoma, going to Arizona. I think we're sold still that Kyler Murray's going number one. It just wouldn't surprise us if another team swoops in there to get this number one pick.
Yes. And we're both, even though we're mocking Kyler Murray to the Arizona Cardinals, you and I both agree that the far better scenario is that Arizona trades out of that spot with somebody else. But who is it going to be? The draft capital people would be the New York Giants, but I don't see them moving up. It would be I almost said the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm a little bit ahead there. It would be the Oakland Raiders. I think that could still be a possibility, but I don't agree with that either. So I'm just hoping some trades are made before the draft actually gets here, because I'd like to put out a mock where I'm like, okay, these trades are already done. Because I honestly, for me to try and guess who's moving up to number one, it's a crapshoot right now.
Yeah, but as of right now, Kyler Murray, number one overall. Number two, same thing that we've kind of been mocking here for the last few weeks. San Francisco then turns around and gets God's gifts to defensive line, because they would be absolutely stacked on the defensive side of the football. And they take Nick Bosa, defensive end out of Ohio State.
Yeah, and I've heard a couple of 49ers fans say, I don't like that fit, but if you have a chance to draft one of the safest options in the draft and to help beef up that defensive line. Again, though, if someone can move up to that 2 spot, I think that helps a lot for the 49ers. But if not, you take Bosa here and you're happy with it.
Yep. The New York Football Jets here, Jets, Jets. They go with Quinnen Williams, defensive tackle out of Alabama. And that offense has started to take a turn for the better there for the Jets. Now it's time to start putting a couple pieces on the defensive side of the football. Quinnen Williams could be somebody who creates havoc right there on the interior defensive line.
Honestly, if you were to say, Kyle, Arizona doesn't trade out of number one and they don't take Kyler Murray, what happens? Quinnen Williams going number one overall would be a bet that I would place my money on over Bosa, because I think he's a little bit better fit there. But you can't pass this pickup here. If you're the New York Jets, he's very disruptive. We've already talked about what they've done this offseason. This only reinforces them getting to be a much better team.
Yep, absolutely. All right, now number 4, the first pick here for the Oakland, we're going to call them the Oakland Raiders. They take Josh Allen, defensive end out of Kentucky, and I think from times past, from mocks past, a lot of Raiders fans would like to see Josh Allen in a Raiders uniform.
Yes, yep. Raiders fans are very excited at the possibility of getting Josh Adams. I think they'd take any of these top guys, but they do like Josh Allen a lot, so he's going to continue to fall here for us. Top 4 picks, basically the same that we've had for quite a while now.
Yep, absolutely. All right, now this is where it gets a little fuzzy for us. We're mocking in a trade here in the first round. Cincinnati trading the number 11 pick plus, a little bit of extra there on the side to move up to number 5. So now we have the Cincinnati Bengals, number 5 overall. Tampa Bay slides back into that number 11 spot. We have the Bengals moving up and taking quarterback Dwayne Haskins out of Ohio State. And the writing's kind of been on the wall. Is Dalton staying? Is Dalton leaving? Do they like Dalton? Is Dalton the future? New coaching staff. This would be the opportunity for them to get their quarterback of the future.
Yeah, I've thought about this one for a while, but I've kind of stayed away from it because I like some of the additions that the Bengals could make at their draft spot with either Devin Bush or Devin White. However, thinking about it a little bit more, reading a little bit more in depth, I think with a new coaching staff there, especially a coaching staff who has worked with Jared Goff in the past, the first year is going to be the time for them to get their quarterback right away. Don't wait. You can move. They can walk away from Andy Dalton at any point that they want to from this point forward and not owe anything. They can get out from underneath his cap hit. So if for some reason they get this year started and it doesn't go well, a new coaching staff is going to want their new quarterback right away. They're not going to want to go through this year and say, oh, it was a bust because Andy Dalton isn't the guy we want to work with. And then all of a sudden, okay, in year 2, now you take a quarterback. Now maybe you have to wait another year. I think they are a dark horse to move up and take Haskins or Murray potentially in this draft. And I am mocking them to jump in front of the Giants, who have been showing a lot of interest in Haskins.
Yeah, absolutely makes total sense. So you just mentioned the Giants, who are now at number 6. With the quarterbacks being off the board, they take the best offensive lineman arguably in the draft with Jawan Taylor out of Florida. They need to do whatever they can to protect the assets that they do have right now in New York, and he would be a great fit for the offensive line.
Yeah, if they're in a win mode now, or win now mode, excuse me, like they try to say that they are, then this is going to be the pick that they make. There's been some talk about maybe taking a wide receiver as well, one of these top wide receivers. Personally, I'd rather see them make this pick and then take a wide receiver later on, either with that next pick, which we don't have happening, or later in a different round.
Yep. Number 7 overall, the Jacksonville Jaguars. We have them taking possibly the 1B to 1A of offensive linemen. It's Jonah Williams, offensive tackle out of Alabama. And in Jacksonville, they're going to commit to the run. I mean, Leonard Fournette, if he's healthy, will be in the backfield. They need to protect Nick Foles. They just gave him a lot of money. This would be a great step in the right direction. For a team that already has a lot of pieces on defense, time to start, addressing that offensive line a little bit more.
Yeah, and the reason that I'm going offensive line here is, like you just said, they have a lot of solid pieces on defense. The defensive line is still really good in my mind. I don't think that they need to have an edge rusher. Yeah, it might help. I don't think they have to do it. Linebackers are solid. Defensive backs, especially at cornerback, are solid. This is a team just 2 years removed from the playoffs with a really good defense, one of the best ones in the league. Last year just wasn't a good year for them. Why don't you focus on the offensive line, protect your new investment in Nick Foles? He's going to have plenty of time because I don't love the wide receiver situation there. We'll see what happens, but I would like to see them protecting their new investment.
Yep, absolutely. All right, number 8, the Detroit Lions. We have them taking Devin White, linebacker out of LSU, what many would say is the top-ranked linebacker here in the draft, and he definitely fills a need for the Detroit Lions. They get a great player, a very dynamic linebacker here at number 8.
Yeah, I had Devin White going to Tampa Bay, which if they don't move, I think that's a possibility still for them. But in this mock, because Tampa Bay moves back, Detroit is able to swoop in and get a guy that I think would be a great addition to their defense.
Yep, agreed. Number 9, the Buffalo Bills, the upstart Buffalo Bills. It gets a little fuzzy here, but we're going with T.J. Hawkinson, tight end out of Iowa. We've talked about it in the last previous mocks. They need some more playmakers. They've went out and signed a few free agent wide receivers to kind of help that offense and help Josh Allen, but they're really lacking that big, that big time performer, that big play threat on offense. T.J. Hawkinson, I will be a rookie tight end who usually struggle, but he gives them that other dimension to an offense.
They just signed Tyler Kroft, so they do have somebody to play, but during his time in Cincinnati, he never really did anything when Tyler Eifert was hurt. So is he really that guy? The reason I like Hawkinson to the Bills is because it gives them another weapon, a big weapon for Josh Allen, the guy that can be a little inconsistent at times and not really hit his targets. It gives them a big target. It gives a guy to really help with, like John Brown, Bob Foster, okay, guys like that who can stretch the field a little bit. Hawkinson can sit down in the middle of the field and find some room there. They don't really have a red zone threat, in my opinion. He's a red zone threat, and he can help block on the offensive line because I think he's a little bit of a better blocker than Noah Fant is. So I think Bills fans, if you hate this pick, I'm sorry, I completely get it, but I really like this fit for you guys. I think this would be tremendous, even though I don't love drafting, a tight end in the top 10 picks. I think this would be a really good pick for you.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about, Bob Foster, Cole Beasley, John Brown. I mean, really, there's not somebody there who's, a big threat, a red zone threat. That could definitely be Hawkinson. All right, number 10, the Denver Broncos. They kind of get one of the best interior defensive linemen just tossed into their lap. Ed Oliver out of Houston goes to Denver here at number 10.
Yeah, if Ed Oliver were to fall here, even though I think there might be some other areas that they could work on, I think this would be a really good pick for them. We have mocked Drew Lock here before, but I would be I would be furious if I was a Broncos fan and they took Lock over a guy like Ed Oliver.
Yeah, especially with him there on the board. All right, number 11, the Tampa Bay Bucs. Now that they've moved back to number 11, we know they needed a linebacker. Quan Alexander no longer in town, and they get another one of these top options. Yes, they miss out on Devin White, but they get Devin Bush, linebacker out of Michigan, another young guy with huge, huge upside.
Yeah, a guy like Quan Alexander, a speedy guy that can get around the field, really track down guys, hit those holes, get into the backfield. I think this would be a great replacement for Quan Alexander, and you still have Levante David there as well to kind of help mentor Bush and help him grow. If you're sitting here watching this video and you're thinking to yourself, Devin Bush can't go that high, you haven't watched the combine, you haven't watched his pro day, you haven't watched Devin Bush. So if you're thinking that right now, go back and watch these things because he has absolutely proved that he can be a top pick in this draft.
Yep. Number 12, the Green Bay Packers. They get one of our favorites. I know it's one of your favorites. You've been talking about Brian Burns, edge rusher out of Florida State, for weeks upon weeks upon weeks, way before a lot of people even knew who the heck is Brian Burns. And he's starting to creep up draft boards. People are starting to realize he is a huge talent, going number 12 overall to the Green Bay Packers.
The very first mock draft we did this offseason, I put Brian Burns at number 8 to the Detroit Lions, and I can't even remember how many people thought that was an awful pick. And he is gaining traction. Green Bay Packers, if you get him here, even though I'm a Lions fan, I'll be rooting for you and rooting for him because I really like him. I think he is one of the best defensive ends in this draft. I have him at number 2, right behind Bosa.
Wow, that's pretty impressive right there. Number 13, the Miami Dolphins. What's going on in Miami? I mean, now they got Fitzmagic, right? It's back. Nothing but chest hair and gold chains in Miami. He's going to fit in just perfectly down there. They get Dalton Reisner, offensive tackle out of Kansas State. Not so much to protect Fitzpatrick this year, but maybe for whoever they're going to draft and pick up next year.
Yeah, I don't see them making a move this year to try and jump high enough to get either Haskins or Murray. So just hold off right now. Wait for next year. If this season doesn't play out the way it should and you have a down year, then take some of those big name quarterbacks next year. Get a guy like Reisner, let him get into the offense this year, grow a year, then you've got your tackle next year that you can trust a little bit more instead of, hoping that maybe a rookie hits next year. I would go this route. I like Reisner. I think he's very undervalued at tackle so far in this draft.
Yeah, it gives him a year to get acclimated and up to speed. So next year he's ready to go to protect whoever they can get in the draft there. Number 14, the Atlanta Falcons. They get Rashawn Gary, edge rusher out of Michigan, and he would definitely bolster the defensive line for the Atlanta Falcons.
I know a lot of people have him as a top 10 pick. I like Gary, but there are some concerns I think that teams will look at that will cause him to, I don't want to say slide, but fall a little bit further in the draft than what some people think. But with Atlanta, I think it's a good fit because they need someone on the inside and the outside. Gary could potentially do both of those things and give them some help there. So I like this. I like this fit here.
Yeah, he fits there in that defense, definitely. Washington Redskins coming in number 15. We have them taking DK Metcalf, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Now, not because we think DK Metcalf is the best wide receiver in the draft, but the name value, the freakish athletic ability is really bumping him up higher than he really probably should be. But going right here, number 15 to the Washington Redskins, it does give him that deep play threat. If all he does is run go routes all the time, at least it will give him somebody to throw to deep.
So, and Redskins fans aren't going to like this pick, and I get it, and I wouldn't necessarily like it either. Keep in mind with these mock drafts, I'm not necessarily putting guys where I say, I love this fit. I'm also taking into consideration what I think teams will do as well. Washington is a team that I would this year think would move up in the draft, try to get one of those top 2 quarterbacks. But here's the problem. Gruden is really on his last leg there. He could be out at any point. So why waste a first round pick on a guy that you might not even be able to coach up? So they're going to go out and they're going to get a guy, somebody exciting, someone that part of the fan base might say, hey, but they need help on offense to stay at top of that division and try and compete. They need offensive weapons. I don't trust the offensive weapons they have there right now. This would be a step in the right direction. But again, don't love it. I think it's something that could definitely happen though.
Yep, absolutely. Number 16, the Carolina Panthers. They have some needs on the defensive line, and here they get Cleveland Farrell, edge rusher out of Clemson. Kind of fills in that old Julius Peppers roles now that he's gone.
Yes, so I do like this fit here. Love Cleveland Farrell. One of my favorite edge rushers in this draft. Would be a great fit for Carolina this late.
Yep, the New York Football Giants now. They get also an edge rusher, lots of edge rushers, and that's what really makes these mock drafts hard is there's so much talent. It's kind of hard to know who falls where. But here we have Montez Sweat, edge rusher out of Mississippi State. A lot of people are going to bring up the heart condition they found there at the combine, coming out to be not so much of a big deal. He's definitely somebody who could give them a presence on the defensive side of the football and rushing the passer.
I had him going to the Giants with their first pick in our last mock, but when we recorded it, we hadn't really heard about the heart condition. It was kind of breaking news at that point. Didn't have a whole lot of information. I didn't want to move anything. Personally, I don't think he really falls that much. He was allowed to participate in the combine. If it was really that big of an issue, they would have said no right away like they did with Mo Hurst last year. So with this here, I do think he drops a little bit, but Montez Sweat could potentially be a top 10 type guy, and you get him to fall all the way to 17. I think this is great value. I think this is something that could end up happening.
Yeah, definitely fills a need. Number 18, the Minnesota Vikings. We've been pretty much mocking an offensive lineman here since the beginning. They need to protect Kirk Cousins, and now they're fully invested in Dalvin Cook. Really not a whole lot of other options behind him. So we have them taking Cody Ford, offensive lineman out of Oklahoma, to try to give Kirk Cousins a little bit more time.
Yeah, he's my top interior offensive lineman in this draft. I think this is an excellent win for Minnesota.
Yeah, definitely. Number 19, the Tennessee Titans. Another one of these teams that just needs to really work on the offensive line. They've committed, hopefully they've committed by now to Derrick Henry and giving him a full workload, a full opportunity. A lot of people aren't sold on that yet. We see the comments all the time saying, oh, it's just recency bias with Derrick Henry. But there's really a good chance that they commit to him this season, and they do it again here by going Garrett Bradbury, offensive lineman out of NC State.
Yes. So they just re-signed Pamphile, which is one of their tackles from last year, or one of their guards from last year, excuse me. And he's more of a backup. He's not really a starter. They did bring over Roger Saffold from the Rams. He was the number 2 ranked run blocking guard, last season in the NFL. And they have Taylor Lewan at left tackle. They're really building up this offensive line to basically say, Marcus Mariota, we don't want you to win games. We want you to hand the ball off. We want our defense to win games. We want our running game to wear the other team down. I think this is the direction we're heading. If this pick happens, I was going to say something inappropriate. We like to say things around here for fantasy football when we talk about Nick Chubb, but I'm going to get very excited, we'll say, about Derrick Henry.
Were you going to say you're about to go full Chubb on him?
Yes.
Wow. All right, then. Perfect. Love it.
I don't know if this crowd that's watching right now that doesn't watch us for fantasy sports would know what we were talking about, so I wanted to dial it back there for a second.
Well, if they don't know, now they do, Kyle. Number 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have a need in the secondary, and right here we have them taking Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, safety out of Florida. They really need to start to bolster up that secondary. Opposing offenses, basically almost through at will against Pittsburgh, and this would be a great pickup for him here.
Yeah, I have Nasir Adderley as my top rank safety. Unfortunately, I do think there's some teams that could look at him coming from Delaware and say, and Pittsburgh might be one of those teams. They might look at this and say, from what I've seen, they might not be interested in him as they might be some of these big named safeties out of these bigger named schools. So I think that's why Chauncey Gardner-Johnson would be the guy. The plans are for them to release Morgan Burnett. They've been trying to trade him. I don't think it's going to happen. So they add a safety here when they really need to be working on the defensive side of the ball.
Yep, agreed. All right, number 21, the Seattle Seahawks. We have them getting arguably the top-rated corner in the draft, Greedy Williams, defensive back out of LSU here, 21 overall, the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, and I still have Byron Murphy over Greedy Williams. There's just a few concerns I have with his footwork and things of that nature, but a lot of NFL teams continue to view Greedy Williams as the top cornerback, and I feel like Seattle would also be one of those teams that continue to view him that way. I've had Greedy Williams anywhere from as high as basically 8 in this draft, all the way down to, I think I've had him as low as about 27 as well to Oakland, or 24. So I think he's a guy that could really fluctuate. He's one that I'm getting a hard read on where he could go in this draft.
Yeah, he could definitely fall a few different spots. 22 overall, the Baltimore Ravens. They have a need on the offensive side of the football. Let's try to get more weapons for Lamar Jackson, and they get a great one here. In our opinion, I believe the best wide receiver in the class, N'Keal Harry, wide receiver out of Arizona State.
Yeah, my wide receiver one, he might not seem like he has the upside of some of these other guys, but he is by far the safest. And that's a compliment. I'm not saying that because I don't think he has the upside. I think he's such a safe floor with that possible upside that he's the best wide receiver in this draft. I think this is a great pick here if it happens for the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. That would be critical to his development.
Yeah, with N'Keal Harry with Mark Ingram in the backfield, Lamar Jackson, it gives him dimension. Plus, they also have 32 tight ends on their roster. The 23rd overall pick, Houston Texans. They need to do whatever they can to protect Deshaun Watson. That's the future of the franchise. There's plenty of weapons on the outside to get the ball to. They're going to take Andre Dillard, interior offensive lineman out of Washington State, to do whatever they can to keep Watson upright.
One of the up and comers, one of the fastest rising players after the combine. Dillard had a really good combine. He's starting to make his way up a lot of draft boards. And don't be surprised if Houston maybe tries to make a move. If the draft starts kicking off and we don't see some of these tackles go as early as we have with like Taylor, if that doesn't end up happening in Williams and they start to drop some, don't be surprised if Houston makes a move to go up and get one of those top tackles. I almost mock that happening, but I have them going a lot higher than a lot of other people do. And to try and move from 23 up into the top 10 would be an awfully large jump with a lot of compensation.
Yep, absolutely. Especially for an offensive lineman, which a lot of people kind of frown upon the offensive lineman pick just because it's not sexy, but it helps win ball games. 24th overall, the second pick for the Oakland Raiders. Here they get your number one defensive back in the draft, Byron Murphy, out of what you would like to refer to as DBU, Washington.
Yeah, great pick here. I mean, either Greedy Williams or Byron Murphy, I think, is an excellent pick for the Raiders. I would be, if I was a Raiders fan, I'd be a little bit more excited for Murphy because I think he's a little bit more complete right now. So I think this is also an excellent pick for them.
Yep. 25th overall, the Philadelphia Eagles have a need at running back. I mean, really, do we want to depend on a dude with the last name of Smallwood? Let's go ahead and give them their running back of the future. Let's go Josh Jacobs, running back out of Alabama, to try to get a little bit of stability in that backfield.
Yeah, they didn't spend any money on the position in free agency. So I definitely think that this is going to be, Jay Ajayi isn't going to be coming back. Darren Sproles, I'm picking up a running back here. This is one of my safer picks, I think, in this draft. I think it could end up happening. And I think it's an excellent pick too, because the Eagles team isn't one that has a ton of holes, in my opinion. The biggest one would be getting a run game to take the pressure off Wentz.
Yeah, absolutely. He would definitely help with that. 26th overall, the Indianapolis Colts have them taking Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle out of Clemson. And we've kind of mentioned it before, there's a lot of talent at the defensive tackle position. I mean, you could literally almost plug and play these guys all over the board. If they were to get Christian Wilkins all the way down at 26, huge win for the Colts.
Yeah, and I mean, this would be a huge win. It adds to that defense that got better and better and better as last season went along. Just another person to throw there into the mix and get the pressure on the quarterback and help that defense out.
That's right. Now it's time for the third and final first-round pick of the Oakland Raiders. We're going to give them Noah Fant, tight end out of Iowa. Jared Cook is gone. We filled some holes on the defensive side earlier in this first round. It's time for them to get a playmaker there at the tight end position, and that's Noah Fant.
This is the first time I've had Fant going to the Oakland Raiders. This is the first time I've had a tight end going to the Oakland Raiders. But I even put it in the notes here. Offense puts butts in the seats. And that's what Oakland needs to do. They want to put butts in the seats. They want people to be excited about this team, especially after last year felt like a really disappointing letdown, trading away their top players, things like that. Noah Fant, it just gives Derek Carr another weapon. I mean, it gives Antonio Brown more weapons around him to help him get free. I think this is kind of really a no-brainer to add to this position here for them, especially with Jared Cook being gone now.
Yeah, exactly. He definitely fills a need there. 28th overall, the Los Angeles Chargers. We have them going all out on the defensive line here, going Jerry Tillery, defensive tackle out of Notre Dame, pairing him up with Bosa and Ingram to rush the passer. That would be a defensive front that nobody wants to mess with.
Yeah, especially in that division when you're going to have to get after Patrick Mahomes a lot. I think this is a great addition here for them. This is the first time I've had Tillery in the first round, but he is one of the higher rising players right now. Kind of starting to get a first round grade, early second round. This is a pretty decent spot for him though to land.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. 29th overall, the Kansas City Chiefs. Just mentioned them with Patrick Mahomes. They were a team that was just lit up on the defensive side of the football. Part of the reason the offense was so great is because they were constantly having to throw and keep scoring. Here they get DeAndre Baker, defensive back out of Georgia, to try and help out in the secondary.
Yep. And there's a little bit of talk right now. We don't know what's happening with Tyreek Hill yet, but if Tyreek Hill were to be suspended, I also would not be surprised if they use a first round pick on a wide receiver.
Wow. That would be it would be shocking, but it also wouldn't, because that team is built around that offensive firepower they have.
Yeah.
They need to have those weapons, and Sammy Watkins isn't exactly what you would call durable. Let's see, the 30th overall pick, the second pick for the Green Bay Packers, still need help at the safety position, and here's where they take Nasir Adderley, safety out of the small school of Delaware.
Yep. And Packers fans, trust me, if you don't like this pick, just hold on, because Nasir Adderley is a game changer, I believe, at the next level. I like this kid. He's one of my top players in this draft. For them to get him at the end of the first round after taking a guy like Brian Burns, whew, that is an excellent first round for you. Even if you don't think those names jump off the page to you, just wait, because they are going to be playmakers.
Yeah, absolutely, especially on the defensive side of the football there, where they have that need for the Packers. 31 overall, the Los Angeles Rams. Like you mentioned before, they just lost Roger Saffold. They need some more help on the offensive line. Waiting to find out what's going on with Gurley. Is it something that lingers on into the season? Is C.J. Anderson still in the mix? Is somebody else in the mix? What's going on? They need to make sure that offensive line is ready to go no matter what. They take Chris Lindstrom, offensive lineman out of Boston College.
Yeah, he's made his way back into the first round for me. I had him as a first rounder, then I took him out. Now he's back. But the reason he's back is because I had not had the Rams taking an offensive lineman until now, because they hadn't lost Saffold. Now that they have, I think that's definitely one of the biggest needs. They need to address being able to help Todd Gurley, being able to help that offense. You might say that they would want a pass rusher, but when you have Aaron Donald and when you have Ndamukong Suh, if he ends up coming back, all those things happening, we'll see. But, those are things that, will be okay. The defense will be okay. I think you need to work on the offensive line.
Yep, exactly. That would help no matter whatever facet they want to beat you in on the ground, through the air, really helps out. All right, the 32nd overall pick, the New England Patriots. And we talked about at the very opening, now that Gronk has officially retired, but Hawkinson and Fant are off the board. So what do? They go Hakeem Butler, wide receiver out of Iowa State. I mean, if you look at the playmakers for the Patriots, after Julian Edelman, as far as pass-catching wide receivers go, there's not a whole lot else there. I mean, Josh Gordon technically there, but does he even play? That's a question mark. Hakeem Butler, he would fill in nicely for Tom Brady there in New England.
Yeah. And for those of you out there who are saying, oh, they need to move up and take Fant or Hawkinson, when have the Patriots ever moved up? Okay. They don't panic. They're not going to panic about Gronkowski being gone. And if you don't know a whole lot about this draft, it's deep at tight end. You can get some really good, valuable players later on. And Irv Smith Jr. you can get later on. He's got a first round grade on him. Maybe you move up in the second to do that. There's other guys. Isaac Nauta out of Georgia is another guy who could end up being a playmaker. So don't worry about moving up. Take a weapon here, a wide receiver, a guy that is in my opinion one of the top wide receivers in this draft. Get him here, get a huge playmaker, and then get your tight end later. Don't move up in the first to do it.
Yeah, that's not something I can see New England doing. All right, this is how we have the first round playing out, the top 32 overall picks. We do want to know what you think of these picks. Now, don't get all butthurt if we didn't pick who you want. I mean, nobody can see the future. There's tons of other options here. I mean, we could literally go with like 37 million other options, and it's really difficult to try to pinpoint right now where these guys are going to go. As of right now, with the information we have, this is how we see it playing out. But like I said, we are one of the most interactive channels here on YouTube. We want to hear your thoughts. Maybe there's somebody else in a different spot that you would rather see. throw it down in the comment section. We'd love to just hear your opinion. We're not here saying that we are God's gift to NFL mock drafting. We're just trying to help everybody figure it out here a little bit ahead of time. But we do appreciate that interaction with the community. Really appreciate Kyle going along with us here, doing another mock draft. Kyle, I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kyle. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, make sure you leave it down there in the comments section. Also, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. We got football content all year long. Looking forward to talking to you guys, and you guys have a good rest of your week. Thanks. Bye.